Alright then, hi out there all you beautiful internet people. Tonight I'm going over a genre that I haven't really talked about lately, that being the superhero genre. And if you know anything about my taste in film, it's that I routinely dunk on Marvel movies and, for the most part, the DCEU. I think there's been some terrible decisions made in the past decade. Superhero movies these days are pretty much uniformly predictable garbage, but there was a point in time where I think superhero movies were respectable, even admirable, and I'm definitely not averse to the idea of superheroes in film. In fact, I think superheroes are a great genre, and a very important part of American history, and a very important part of comics history. Just in general, there are some fantastic superheroes out there in comics, and there are also some fantastic superheroes in film. Just not any of the new Marvel movies, starting with, of course, Iron Man, and then building up to what we have now with Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings and Hawkeye and Loki and all this garbage. So today I'm going over what I consider to be the best superhero films that you should definitely give a watch if you're interested in stories of larger-than-life adventures and exciting do-gooders doing the good in the cities full of crime. Here we go. This is my official list of top 10 superhero movies.
Up in the sky! It's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's Superman! Yes, it's Superman!
At number 10, we have the new Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot. This might seem like a pretty lukewarm spot to start off with, but I saw the new Wonder Woman and it was pretty good. Not the sequel, because that one is just a bunch of pandering 80s nostalgia, just like Stranger Things. But the first Wonder Woman, for what it's worth, is a pretty good adaptation of the comic, created of course by William Moulton Marston and H.G. Peter in 1940. I have the original Wonder Woman comics, and they are some of the best comics ever made. H.G. Peter's art is legendary, really calls to mind the ancient Greek myths, and of course that's the appeal of Wonder Woman for me, the fact that she ties in so closely with many Greek myths, and that she's a symbol of female empowerment. Just an excellent character all around, a really fantastic character. Definitely one of the best of the DC lineup. There are some flaws I find with the Wonder Woman movie. Most notably, they take a story that only works in World War II and switch it so that it's in World War I, which doesn't even make sense, because Wonder Woman wears American patriotic costumes, you know, and America was much more patriotic during World War II than during World War I, considering most people didn't even want to fight in World War I and nobody even really cared. But for whatever reason, the movie switches the story of Wonder Woman leaving Paradise Island from World War II to World War I for no reason other than that I guess it wanted to set itself apart from the Captain America movie, which is a real shame that the Captain America movie came out first, because everyone, of course, accused Wonder Woman of being a ripoff of Captain America, even though Captain America sucks ass, and Wonder Woman is a way cooler World War II era character, because let's face it, she's a woman, and that's way cooler than some little dweeb who just gets shot up with the super soldier serum. Wonder Woman has bullets that can stop bracelets, and she can run as fast as a car. I mean, she's pretty flippin' awesome. For what it's worth, though, I think Gal Gadot's interpretation of the character is pretty spot on, and I like how she has an accent. Because, you know, Wonder Woman growing up in this weird island surrounded by all these Amazon women would have a pretty out-there accent. I'm not sure whether I like the Gal Gadot version of Wonder Woman or the Linda Carter version better. I've seen all of the Linda Carter version, and I think, you know, that it's a really epic show. And Linda Carter's version is pretty good, but I think Gal Gadot's version might be a little better, in fact. I think Gal Gadot does bring the right kind of naivety and charm to the role, and I think Chris Pine is pretty dang good as Steve Travers, and you got Etta Candy. Etta Candy's in this, but they don't do her right. They didn't do her right in the Linda Carter show either. I have no idea why there isn't a Wonder Woman show that accurately captures the character of Etta Candy and portrays her correctly as a sorority girl addicted to chocolate, rather than some English intelligence agent or some 60-year-old spinster. I really don't know why none of the adaptations do Etta Candy justice. The last thing I should mention about the Wonder Woman movie is, of course, Dr. Poison. I think Dr. Poison is a great antagonist, and she's definitely the best part of the movie. Her poison makeup and her poison plans are just so diabolical and fun. In the original comics, she was a cross-dresser, and she dressed up like a guy, and the whole comic you thought it was a guy, and then she's exposed as a girl, but in the movie they know she's a woman the whole time. A little less fun than in the comics, but hey, Dr. Poison's in it, and I really like Dr. Poison, and I liked her in the comics, so yeah, I think Wonder Woman, for what it's worth, is a good film because it is obviously not directed by Zack Snyder. You can just tell that in the midst of all this crap, you know, Justice League, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel. You got an actual good movie. I think Patty Jenkins is an okay director, better than Zack Snyder. And hey, you know, since the entire 2010s was just stuffed full of Marvel shit, at least there's like one good DC movie, so I can say that. At number 9, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one.
Dudes and dudettes, Major League Butt Kicking is back in town! Oh yeah!
And not the second or third ones, because they kind of go downhill pretty fast. But to those of you out there who say that my tastes are too snobby or, you know, too high up, too intellectual or whatever, for what it's worth, I think that the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie is totally bodacious and awesome. I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, during their early years, were characters with a lot of potential. I have a comic called Nat Rat, which was created by the same guy. Obviously, Nat Rat saw less success. I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles really caught on because, you know, it's just a wacky, fun idea, and they eat pizza down in the sewer. I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is one of the most 80s movies you'll ever see. Obviously, lots of commentary on, you know, juvenile delinquency and drug use, and in that sense, it's very dated, but it's also a very comfortable film to watch, just in terms of, you know what you're getting into, you know what to expect. This movie boasts some of the best puppetry I think you're ever likely to see. It's right up there with The Dark Crystal. Of course, Jim Henson's Creature Workshop really did a great job on the turtles to make them very appealing. They're not creepy at all. They're just like very likable and fun, and they just eat that pizza down in the sewer. You know, I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a property with a lot of potential, and it was pretty good before Nickelodeon bought all the rights and ruined it and made those terrible new ones where they're like CGI monstrosities. They should just be puppets, you know. They don't need to be CGI. That's just fucking stupid. This movie also has, of course, Master Splinter and Shredder, and it's got Casey Jones and April O'Neil, both of whom the film does great justice to. Casey Jones is so awesome. April O'Neil's so flippin' cool. She's such a cool character to follow around as she gets sucked into Turtle World and has to cope with the fact that there's turtles running amok down in the sewer. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one, is really good and really stands the test of time in terms of fun, goofy, wacky, cowabunga type fun. And that's really all you can ask for, isn't it? At number 8, we have Superman.
Lane, say hello to Clark Kent. Hold you one, Pete.
Remember my...
The first new Superman movie, not new Superman movie, not Man of Steel, but you know what I'm talking about, the one with Reeves. There's multiple Reeves, and they're all unrelated, and they all play Superman, but I'm talking the one with Gene Hackman. You know the one. It's not brought up much, but I think it is the first really modern superhero movie. Really the first one to make people interested in superheroes again after a long period of being boring. I think it's a decent adaptation of the work. It will introduce you to Superman, who he is, what his whole deal is, what his motives are, that kind of thing. I don't completely buy Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. He's just too bumbly a guy to be taken seriously as this, you know, corporate mastermind like in the comics. I think he's not the best Lex Luthor, but I do think the guy that plays Superman, Reeves, whatever his name, Matt Reeves, Christopher, I don't know, whatever Reeves, is great. I think he really brings the pathos, the intensity, the conflict of a character whose entire planet is blown up, the last son of Krypton. He's got to keep Metropolis safe. I do think a lot of the choices this movie makes are interesting, like when Superman flies around the world so fast that he like reverses time, which I don't think would happen in the comics, but you know, whatever. I've watched the 50s show, and the 50s show is pretty good, but I don't know, it's hard to say whether the 50s show of Superman or the movie is better. I mean, the movie's pretty epic, and, oh yeah, right, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. She's a really good Lois Lane. It's her best role. She's in the terrible Bob Clark dumpster factory Black Christmas, but in Superman she's actually really good and really convincing as Lois Lane. Great character. You know, you got all the staples. You got Jimmy Olsen, you got Perry White, and you've also got, of course, the classic Superman story. Lands on Earth, becomes, you know, Clark Kent, gets the reporting job, gets the scoop, and then has to save Lois Lane from Lex Luthor. Very basic, very by-the-numbers story, but very fulfilling to watch Superman, you know, fulfill his destiny. And of course, there are tons of sequels. There's, you know, Superman's 2 and 3 and 4, The Quest for Peace with the stupid nuclear man, and you have the one that was going to be directed by Tim Burton and star Nicolas Cage, Superman Lives. That would have been the most awesome Superman movie. If that had been made, it would have made this list, but it was never made. And then you have Superman Returns, which, all things considered, was okay. Then you have Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, which are so hideous and terrible and just disgusting to look at that they don't even really warrant to mention here. But for what it's worth, I do think the first Superman movie is definitely really great and really a good introduction to Superman. If for whatever reason you're not much into Superman, give the first movie a try and you might be into Superman. At number 7, we have Blank Man with Damon Wayans and David Alan Grier.
I'm an ordinary citizen. The police fight crimes.
This is a very obscure movie, but, you know, I've talked about the genius of the Wayanses before on their show In Living Color. I might do an entire video on In Living Color sometime because it's just a really fantastic show. I think the Wayanses are absolute madmen. You know, they're behind Don't Be a Menace in South Central and Scary Movie and just so many fantastic films. Blank Man is really good. Not only is the animated intro just some icon shit, I think probably David Alan Grier really sells it here because his character of the other guy is just, you know, you really sympathize with him because, you know, Damon is really hamming it up. He's kind of like Urkel in that way, you know, he's very quirky, he's very eccentric, he's very wacky, but it's a really fun movie and it has a lot of fun twists on superhero conventions, and there's a lot of just great jokes in this, like where they're riding down, like, in front of the subway and they're gonna get run over. She's like, you know, go faster, and Damon's like, oh wait, I can't hear you, let me turn it off. There's great moments like that make this movie genuinely enjoyable, and you kind of wonder, you know, like, there used to be movies this good coming out. Blank Man is a real feast for the eyes, features that classic Wayans humor, and is overall just a real romp. And you know, you want to see Blank Man succeed. You want to see his entrepreneurial superhero enterprise go up. And in that case, in that regard, he's kind of like, you know, Phoenix Jones, you know. When Phoenix Jones started up, everyone was like, huh, this guy's a joke. But then, you know, he kind of earned the respect. And Blank Man is interesting in that it asks the same question, you know, what if you had a superhero in a more realistic setting, you know, that kind of thing. Which I think is pretty interesting, all things considered. Alright, 6, we have the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Now, I know what you're thinking. I shit on Marvel constantly, but I think Spider-Man is the only really good Marvel film, along with Spider-Man 2 and 3, because it was before Marvel was bought out by Disney, and I do think Spider-Man is pretty much the only Marvel character with any real potential, like as a character. Like he is a pretty cool character with a cool origin story. Not all his villains are winners. I mean, one is just a straight up rip-off Catwoman, but you know, what you gonna do? I do think the first Spider-Man movie definitely the best Marvel movie, and absolutely the only one you really should watch, because, heck, I think Spider-Man's an okay superhero. I think a lot of Marvel heroes, like Wolverine and Black Panther and Hawkeye and Iron Man, total crap, but, you know, Spider-Man's okay. And everyone's like, oh, Tom Holland was born to play Spider-Man. Tom Holland was born for the role. Well, if Tom Holland was born to play Spider-Man, he'd have been born 20 years earlier, and his name would be Tobey Maguire, because Tobey Maguire fucking kills it. And anyone who praises Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland as Spider-Man is a freaking idiot. Like, I just don't know who could watch, like, The Amazing Spider-Mans or Spider-Man's Far From Home or Spider-Man Dawson's Creek and go, oh, wow, this is Spider-Man. You need Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. That's all there is to it. If there had ever been a Spider-Man 4, I'm sure it would have been okay. But there wasn't, so Spider-Man is dead as a franchise. There hasn't been a good Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 3. I mean, Spider-Man 3 has flippin' Venom, so, you know, what do we even need the Tom Hardy version for, right? We already got Venom. We got Sandman, we got Doc Ock, and we got Green Goblin. As for Spider-Man 1, I think it's one of Willem Dafoe's best roles. He completely sells it as Green Goblin. Tobey Maguire is just such a captivating Spider-Man. He's just so epic. And J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah how could I forget? J.K. Simmons is the best part of the movie, and any movie that does not have J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, like, fuck that. He's the only reason the movie's a success, because he's smoking that cigar, he's got the mustache. That's the only role I even know J.K. Simmons from. Is he the guy in Whiplash? I don't even know. He's in the Tomorrow War? I don't know. J. Jonah Jameson is the performance of a lifetime. You've got to catch that. It's epic. Everyone's like, I like Into the Spider-Verse because it looks like a comic book. You know, well, it's a movie. Movies aren't supposed to look like comic books. And I think Into the Spider-Verse is an embarrassment. I think this extended Spider-Verse bullshit Marvel has going on with Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen and all this bloated shit. It's like, just make Spider-Man. He's Peter Parker, Aunt May, he's a spider guy. You know, that's all there is to it. You don't need 100 different varieties of Spider-Man. It's so stupid. But yeah, for what it's worth, the first Spider-Man is good. And Sam Raimi is an awesome director, too. Obviously, he brings a lot of his horror influences to Spider-Man, a lot of body horror, but that's already been pointed out. I think Green Goblin is very cool. Willem Dafoe is very cool. Kirsten Dunst is good. And, yeah, for what it's worth, the original Spider-Man. Accept no imitations, accept no homecomings, no Far From Homes or No Way Homes or any of that bullshit. I don't even know why everyone is so excited about the new stupid Spider-Man. It's like, he's not even Tobey Maguire anymore. Why even give a shit? At 5, we have The Mask of Zorro with Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins. Now, there is obviously some debate as to whether Zorro qualifies as a superhero. I would say he absolutely does. I am very interested by superheroes prior to Superman. There's the Shadow, the Green Hornet, Zorro. There's a lot of French ones such as Fantomas, or I guess he's a super villain depending on which adventure you read. But I think Zorro is just flippin' awesome. I think he's an awesome character. I think his MO is absolutely cool, you know, carving Z into everything. And The Mask of Zorro, I think, more than any other superhero film, is very good at emphasizing the legacy of a superhero and the kind of lineage they pass on, you know, more so than whatever Marvel is currently trying to do with Spider-Man, where Peter Parker hands it down to Miles Morales, more than Batman and Robin. I think The Mask of Zorro does an excellent job of really building a legacy and a mystique around a character and kind of saying, you know, you're the character now. You're going to be the next generation of this. You're going to carry on the important legacy that I've set up. Anthony Hopkins is fantastic. Antonio Banderas is fantastic. Obviously, this is the role that got him big and made him Puss in Boots in the Shrek movies, but I think his rendition of Zorro is completely awesome. There are a few things more awesome than Zorro going around California before it was an American territory, back when it was under Spanish rule, and just causing, he's like a gosh dang contemporary Robin Hood. He's an epic character, really epic character. And this is a very faithful adaptation of the character from the old pulp serials. I was considering putting The Shadow with Alec Baldwin on this list, but Alec Baldwin's voice is a joke, considering that The Shadow just has a voice, and Alec Baldwin's voice is the boss baby, and that's not intimidating at all. But hey, The Shadow pinball machine is good. But I put the Mask of Zorro here just because I think Antonio Banderas' performance as Zorro is obviously pretty legendary. I also think the sequel is pretty good too, if you're into that. Check out Zorro. He's definitely a character worth admiring, definitely a character worth having a look into, because there really is a lot to Zorro's character, a lot that you'll notice later on in the later superheroes. He really kind of set up the standards and kind of set the precedent for what followed, and I think that's very cool. Zorro's a very, very cool character. At number 4, we have Matt Reeves' The Batman. The most recent of these movies that I saw in theaters. I made an entire video about it. This is a very good Batman adaptation. I think it succeeds mostly because it has so much going on. It's got the Penguin, it's got the Riddler, it's got Catwoman, it's got the whole rogues gallery up against Batman. I think Robert Pattinson is a great Batman. I think pretty much every actor in this is just like spot on. And I can't wait for the sequel because, I'm just glad DC is past its angsty Zack Snyder phase. Now it can go on to kick Marvel's ass if it keeps making good decisions like this and Joker, both of which were really good. The Batman is yet another step in the right direction, and I really, like I said, cannot wait for the next one, whatever Matt Reeves has next, because this is such a step up from Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder and Joel Schumacher and all that complete shit. So we finally have a Batman movie that's contemporary, that people can enjoy, that's fun to watch, that is an accurate representation of the character, an accurate adaptation of the comics. Yes, please. I should also mention the Riddler. The Riddler is great. The Riddler is so flippin' cool in the Batman. And this movie does the Riddler justice, and I can admire that because he's pretty underrated. So, props to the Batman. At number 3, we have a movie which I have undying respect for. This is the kind of movie, it's a type of movie I call ridiculously good. There are very few of them, Buckaroo Banzai is another, that are so well executed in terms of character composition, set design, chemistry, narrative cohesion, pretty much everything, that they are like perfect films, but they never really perform well commercially, and people don't really like them because they're not targeted towards a large demographic, and that's okay. Not every movie needs to be crazy commercial, crazy successful. Mystery Men is one of those films that you just can't help but admire. It's got an all-star cast, the funniest characters imaginable. It gets me so upset whenever I hear someone mention The Boys, like, oh wow, it's The Boys. And it's like, Mystery Men already did this shit. Homelander is a shitty ripoff of Captain Amazing, and this is so obvious to anyone who's ever seen Mystery Men. Not that The Boys is the only ripoff of Mystery Men. There's also Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, which is quite possibly the most obvious fucking Mystery Men ripoff imaginable. It's not even funny. It's not even worth pointing out all the ways in which Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog shamelessly rips off the work of Bob Burden. And that is a crime, because Mystery Men is so fucking awesome. Bob Burden obviously had a lot of input on it, even though he didn't direct it or write it. And holy shit, this movie is fun. It's the kind of movie that if you're feeling like superheroes are old, like, you know, I can understand. People are getting sick of Doctor Strange and WandaVision and all this gutter shit. But then you pop on something like Mystery Man. It's like, holy shit, superheroes are fucking cool as a concept when executed correctly. Now, there is a lot of really dated CGI in this movie, but there's also a lot of practical effects, which are extremely admirable. A lot of really cool sets. I really dig the satiric cyberpunk look of Champion City. This movie has a very distinct look. Ben Stiller's amazing. Janine Garofalo's amazing. This is one of the best movies of her career as the bowler. Obviously, Paul Rubin's in it. It's insane. Tom Waits is in it. Tom Waits. It's like, wow. It's really unbelievable how much fun this movie is. This is a movie that really understands superheroes as a concept. And I will say it's the only movie that deconstructs superheroes, that deconstructs them successfully, because you can tell that it has a lot of respect for the superhero mythos and superhero tropes and really gets a lot of that and is very good at breaking it down cohesively to the point where you respect these characters in their own right, but you also understand that it's a giant joke and everything's a big joke, and there's a joke like every 10 seconds, and it's just so much fun to watch. Obviously, it's a very surreal film. It doesn't make much sense, but it doesn't need to. Claire Forlani is in this from Meet Joe Black, and she's great. Like, obviously, this is just the kind of movie that should be watched more, because I think everyone is watching The Boys and is being convinced that The Boys is the shit. It's like, watch Mystery Men, you know? I really have no sympathy for anyone who thinks The Boys is a competent deconstruction of the superhero genre, or thinks Watchmen is a competent deconstruction of the superhero genre. Mystery Men completely gets it. From the not-so-goody mob to the Red Eyes to, you know, the Sphinx. It's like every character in this is so well developed. Blue Raja, Mr. Furious. It's so great. Ben Stiller is so awesome in this. And when Janine Garofalo gets up there, Janine Garofalo is one of those comedians who's immensely respectable, is in some fantastic stuff. I might make a video about the Ben Stiller show sometime because she's great in that. Not in so much stuff anymore, but the few movies she's in, she completely knocks it out of the park, Mystery Men being one of those movies. It is, I will say this, better than The Avengers, better than Justice League, better than every other superhero team-up movie, just by virtue of the superheroes being genuinely likable and fun characters that you want to watch for 2 hours straight as they bicker and talk amongst themselves. Most notably, of course, the film spawned the greatest meme ever, All-Star by Smash Mouth, and received zero recognition for it, even though the Mystery Men are in the frickin' music video, because everyone associates it with Shrek, because it just so happens to be in the Shrek opening scene, even though Smash Mouth actually made a cover of I'm a Believer for the Shrek movies, but they made All-Star for Mystery Men. But Mystery Men never gets recognition for being the source of one of the greatest memes ever, even though they're in the music video. It's bizarre, but it's strangely fitting for the Mystery Men who go completely without recognition. I would argue that in this day and age, 2022, it's high time that Mr. Furious, Blue Raja, the Shoveler, the Bowler, the Spleen, and the Invisible Boy, and the Sphinx all get the recognition they deserve as some of the best crime fighters ever put to screen, just some of the best characters put to screen. Amazing chemistry like you would not believe throughout this Casanova Frankenstein. What a gosh dang fantastic antagonist. Just what a wonderful movie overall. It's the kind of diamond in the rough that nobody would notice if I didn't recommend it. So I am recommending it. Watch this movie. It is amazing and it will change your life. And after watching all 2 hours of this glorious superhero knockdown, drag-out, action, explosion, funhouse, you're gonna be like, shit yeah, the Mystery Men are awesome. I can't get enough of this. This is the kind of movie that knows exactly what it wants to be, and just follows through with that for 2 straight hours of complete fun. You're never going to get bored watching Mystery Men, and that is a guarantee. Alright, number 2, this is a close one, and I know this is going to be sort of controversial, but the Green Hornet. With Seth Rogen. I can't stand Seth Rogen. I think he is one of the least funny people of the past decade, one of the worst comedians of all time. He's in Sausage Party, he's in Santa Inc., he's in the new Lion King, just overall crap. But the Green Hornet movie is so good. Michael Gondry's direction is so killer. It's such a good adaptation of the character that even though Seth Rogen is the worst part of the movie is just completely awesome. Like, you would not flippin' believe. This movie is a completely accurate adaptation of the Green Hornet as a character. I forgot this movie existed until like a couple months ago. I saw it in the theaters when it came out initially, and it was amazing. And then just a couple months ago, I was like, wasn't there a Green Hornet movie and it was really flippin' good? And I was like, yeah, there was. Revisiting it holds up so well. It's eerie. Like, obviously Michael Gondry's passion for practical effects comes through. I think this might be his best movie, with his worst being Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And things pretentious as fuck, but I do respect Mr. Gondry's passion for practical effects. And there is some CGI in this, but noticeably they do Black Beauty so much justice. You know, the Green Hornet existing before Batman, he's arguably even cooler than Batman, because Kato is such an awesome sidekick, played by flippin' Bruce Lee. And Black Beauty is such an iconic car, possibly even more iconic than the Batmobile, you know, so I'd go so far as to say the Green Hornet is probably cooler than Batman. This is a movie that really understands the character and tries its best to do the character justice in a world that increasingly does not give the Green Hornet enough credit, even though the Green Hornet is like one of the coolest fucking superheroes ever. I also think the new Kato is just great. I think he really, the bit where he's called the Man in Black and it's like, oh, just Johnny Cash, that's funny, but you know, when he's Kato, that's just awesome. The martial arts are great. The fight scenes, just such good choreography. You got Chudnovsky. What a villain. You watch this guy's decline as he just wants to control the entire city through a ruthless criminal enterprise, a ruthless criminal empire. And he goes from Chudnovsky to Bloodnovsky as he just mercilessly blows up and kills anyone who stands in his way, and he's like, bring me the blood of the Green Hornet. You have the development that I don't think was in the original Green Hornet radio serials, where Britt Reed is, you know, conflicted with his father, and he's like, oh, well, you know, I'm a playboy, and I have too much money, and I'm spoiled rotten, and I have to, you know, kind of take responsibility and make this my town and dedicate myself to honest journalism while also, you know, being a crime fighter. And I think that's an angle that really gives a lot of depth to the character. Cameron Diaz is one of the best things about this movie, if not the best. She's a fantastic actress. I've been over this, but pretty much all her roles are winners, except The Sweetest Thing, which I've made a review on. Terrible movie. But she's good in The Mask, and she's arguably even better in The Green Hornet, which was one of her last roles before she retired. I sure hope she's in Shrek 5, because hot dang it, she's a good actress, and she's in some really good movies, and The Green Hornet is one of those. And as Lenore Case, she completely sets the stage. She's so distinct from Lois Lane or Vicky Vale or any of these other characters. And at the same time, I think the movie is very modern, it's very prescient, it's very contemporary. It is incredible at taking this character from the 30s, putting him in the modern day. The shot where he's running across the printing press at the Daily Sentinel is just so flipping cool. It's like, yes, he's become the Green Hornet. He's gone from being Britt Reed to the Green Hornet. I think Seth Rogen is severely miscast. His voice is stupid. he doesn't look like who the Green Hornet should be, which explains why there are no sequels to this, because he's just awful. But he's in a costume most of the time, so you can't tell how stupid he looks because he has the costume on. So it's like, okay, it's the Green Hornet. It's not Seth Rogen. It's the cool mask, the cool hat, the cool coat, and he's driving around in Black Beauty. There's epic car chase. Oh my gosh, the ejector seat. Wow. I think the Green Hornet really sets himself apart, because he's involved in the world of journalism. The angle where the Green Hornet is always on the run from the police, unfairly persecuted by law enforcement that doesn't understand his noble endeavors. He's constantly painted and smeared as the bad guy. I think that is so interesting. It's something no other superhero has going on. The conflict where everyone hates the Green Hornet because they think he's a criminal, but he's actually not a criminal. He's actually the most awesome superhero around. I think The Green Hornet is one of those movies that does not get a fair shake and people dismiss it, but it's an awesome adaptation of the character. Everything about it except Seth Rogen is just so awesome. Kato's awesome, Lenore Case is awesome, Bludnovsky's awesome, Black Beauty is super awesome fucking car with just the gadgets, gizmos. I like how they make Kato kind of a tech whiz, he's kind of got all this penchant for gadgets. And it's an awesome movie, and I completely forgot about it, but man, oh man, it really holds up. It is a really, really cool movie, and anyone who's never heard of the Green Hornet is missing the fuck out, because he's way cooler than any DC or Marvel character. It is the quintessential superhero, the cool car, the sidekick, the flippin' double identity, and he came way before Batman, and he's so cool, and this movie just is complete fun, start to finish. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Michael Gondry's an amazing director in this, and it is the second best superhero film of all time. Okay, number one is, you all saw this coming, Batman.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
The original Tim Burton Batman with Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. I've sung the praises of this movie time and again. I think it is hands down the best Batman adaptation, possibly the most accurate adaptation of any comic book superhero. It understands Batman, it understands him as a character. It is an extremely faithful adaptation of the comics. At the same time, Tim Burton's directorial touch is impeccable. Jack Nicholson's performance as the Joker simply cannot be matched. He is the ultimate Joker. He is completely off his rocker, and he is bringing those creepy balloons full of green gas to Gotham City. Of particular note here also, of course, is Vicky Vale, who I think is a fun character from the original comics and has not really been in any of the other movies, and that's a darn shame because she's a fun character. And I think this movie does her justice, and I think it does the Joker justice, and holy shit, just that soundtrack by Prince is so solid and tight. I listen to Party Man on loop like there's no stopping it. I listen to Electric Chair on loop because it's just that much of a flipping banger. There are very few superhero movies with a score as good as that. I mean, people tell me, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy awesome mix. Yeah, fuck that. That's all songs that already existed. What superhero movie has a fucking soundtrack by Prince? I'll tell you, just Batman, just the first Batman. Now, there are those who say Batman Returns is a good sequel. I don't really like it because I think it doesn't have the Prince score. It feels very different from the first one, despite also being directed by Tim Burton. It's a little too dark for my taste. It's a little too much Tim Burton for my tastes. I think the first one strikes the perfect balance, really doing Batman justice as a character. Michael Keaton embodies Batman completely. The conflict, the trauma over the death of his parents, and the way in which the film is able to connect the Joker and Batman thematically. I don't think any other rendition of Batman is done as well. I think this movie is fantastic. The shots are incredible. The portrayal of Gotham City is so atmospheric. The choreography, the set pieces, the look and feel of the film. It is a film drenched in coolness front to back. And that's why I'd say it's the best superhero movie ever made, hands down. There really aren't any superhero movies that I would rather watch as much as Batman '89 with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton. It is unbelievably good. It is one of those movies that is such a great adaptation of a character that it really stands apart from the crowd in terms of visual eye candy, but also just being a really incredible story. And I think it was very important in bringing Batmania to America, making Batman a popular character. And out of all the, kind of 80s serial revival movies like The Shadow and Dick Tracy, I think Batman is the best just because it understands that Batman is a league apart from the rest. He's so ridiculously cool and so ridiculously conflicted, and the Joker is just prancing around with Smilex. What more needs to be said, really? It's amazing. So that's my top 10 superhero movies. You heard it here first. The superhero movies that I think are actually really good and deserve some more attention, because in this age of complete dumpster droppings like the Eternals and Doctor Strange 2 and whatever, what is Marvel even making at this point? I don't know, but those are just, I think, the best superhero movies that you should watch if you're interested in superheroes in concept, or interested in superhero movies that do superheroes well. There's a lot of trash out there, but if you have a keen eye, you can pretty much tell what's legit, what's made with a lot of passion and talent, and what's not. That's been the top 10 superhero movies, according to me. And until next time, sayonara, suckers.